What's up, Great Lakes Church? My name is James. I'm the children's pastor here at Great Lakes, and I am so glad you joined us for our online service today. Today's a special day because it's Mother's Day. So for all you moms out there, happy Mother's Day. And for all you guys that forgot, you're welcome for the reminder. Right now, I want everyone to go into the comments, and I want you to give your favorite mama in your life a shout out. All right, you can do it right now. All right, we are going to start our online service here in a few moments. The music team is going to start us out, followed by Dave, who's going to kick off a brand new series called Pressure Cooker. Guys, thanks so much again for joining us. Happy Mother's Day.
There's a light that burns in the darkness. There is a hope that washes the fear away. There is a peace that settles around us. Oh, it is your light that sets our hearts ablaze. Father, we're on our knees with every heartbeat. We bring you this offering. Lord, come and fill this place. Father, we're crying out. Spirit, we need you now. Glorious love surrounds us. Lord, come and fill this place. There is a King who reigns in victory. There is a mercy strong enough to save. We feel it rising up from the ashes. There is a love that overcame the grave. There is a love that overcame the grave. Father, we're on our knees with every heartbeat. We bring you this offering. Lord, come and fill this place. Father, we're crying out. Spirit, we need you now. Glorious love surrounds us. Lord, come and fill this place. Oh, Lord, come and fill this place. And I will worship you. I'll worship you. I'll worship you always. And I will worship you. I'll worship you. I'll worship you always. And I will worship you. I'll worship you. I'll worship you always. And I will worship you. I'll worship you. I will worship you always.
Father, we're on our knees with every heartbeat. We bring you this offering. Lord, come and fill this place. Father, we're crying out. Spirit, we need you now. Glorious love surrounds. And I will worship you. I will worship you. I will worship you always. And I will worship you. I will
I'll worship you, I'll worship you always. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. And you've been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You've been so, so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I fall, leaves the 99. And I couldn't turn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. And you've been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You've been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, He chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't turn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb, I'm coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, and lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, yeah. Fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't turn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
That's solid.
Yes. Hi, Carson.
Hey, Maria, what's up?
Not much. What happens when somebody gets in a peekaboo accident? Where do they go?
Where does someone go when they get in a peekaboo
The
accident?
ICU. Peekaboo, ICU.
Maria, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I am Maria. I tell awful dad jokes, and I love Great Lakes Church. I've been a part of Great Lakes Church for 4 years now. I serve on the digital engagement team, and I also serve on Royal Family Kids. So going into my 3rd year, and I just cannot wait for camp this year.
I am Carson. I'm also on the digital engagement team with Maria. And in the past, I've interned for Great Lakes, and they kind of just can't get rid of me now. I keep showing up, and I love being a part of this community. So we are so excited to be here with you today.
Right now, church looks a little bit different. I mean, look around you. You don't see Dave Nelson just yet. Don't worry, he's coming. Oh no, so many people just logged off. No, I'm just kidding. But whether you're wearing your fuzzy pajamas or your favorite sundress, we are so glad that you're here. Even though we have to be apart right now, we can be together in so many different ways. And so we just want to welcome you onto our new online community. Whether you're from Racine or Kenosha, you are welcome here, or anywhere else, really.
And if you are tuning in, make sure to let us know where you're tuning in from. You can drop it in the live chat as we speak. And if you're here for the first time, why don't you attach a smiling emoji or an emoji of your choice, really. One memory that I have about my mother that I love is the scavenger hunts that she did for us growing up. All around the house, little clues taped and pinned in different corners that we could find. And at the end was always a prize, whether it was a chocolate chip cookie or maybe just a note that says, "Mom loves you," whatever it is. It was so fun to be with her. So tell me a story about your mom, Maria.
Oh, Mama Lisa, she is a force to be reckoned with. When I was in high school, I remember my sister was giving me just a really hard time about taking too much time to get ready. You know, the hair doesn't curl itself. And so we were in the cars, me and my mom, and my sister was running late. So my mom decided to back out of the driveway, lock the door. And then when my sister tried to get in, she kept kind of going down the street. And finally, she floored it. We went around the block. My sister didn't know what to do.
Well, I love stories about moms and hearing people express their gratitude for their mom. And actually, the Great Lakes family has put together a video that says, "Thank you, moms." And so we are gonna send it over to the video, but until then, we are grateful to be with you. Check this out.
Tell Mom Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day!
Tell her why we love her.
I love you so much because every day you inspire us to be a better versions of ourselves, and I couldn't wish for a better mom.
That's
Love you.
good.
I love you, Mom, so much. We all love you.
One thing I love about my mom is that she goes geocaching with me.
Hey Mom, thanks for all that you do. Love you.
She has put up with me for 12 years. She feeds me and my family every day. And she does a lot of work around the house to keep it clean, and so that we have a clean and healthy environment to live in.
I'm thankful for when you help us. I'm thankful for when you make us food. I'm thankful that you buy us things we don't need, but you buy it for us anyway. I love reading books with you, Mommy. I love reading books with you, Mommy. And I love playing with you, Mommy, but after you're done with your readings.
I'm so thankful for your determination and never giving up until you got it right with kid number 3. I'm also thankful for your big and caring heart and how every day you choose to sacrifice yourself for others and our family.
Hey Mom, I just wanted to say thanks for being such a great mom. I love you lots. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for everything you do for your family, from your love, support, and encouragement. But most of all, I want to say thank you to my mom for showing me what it means to love and serve God.
One thing I love about my mom is that she's always there when we need her, and she's very caring and love you. Love you, Mom.
I love you so much. You've always been there through everything.
One thing I love about my mom is that she's my mom and she takes care of us.
My favorite thing about my mom is her heart to serve others.
What I love about my mom is that she makes really good food.
I love you, Mom. Thank you for being the best mom ever.
I can't believe you haven't disowned me yet for pain, a little bit of suffering, and 24 years of stench that you had to deal with. But nonetheless, I love you so much and so thankful for your sacrifice, everything you've done for me and your provision, providing a hot meal and just helping me through the ups and downs.
I just want to say thank you so much for everything you do for me. I love you so much.
One thing that I love about my mom is that she's always caring and she thinks about us before her.
Hi Mom, it's Barrick, your favorite. I want to let you know that I love you and you're the best mom there ever is.
Hey babe, I know a lot of guys today are going to be talking about how great their moms are or how wonderful a mother their wives are to their kids, but just know you're the best one. Don't tell anyone. All right, bye. Love you.
I'm grateful that you're so thoughtful. I'm grateful for all your love.
Hey Mom, I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving birth to me.
You're always there for us whenever we need, whether that be making, food for us when we're hungry or just giving us a talk so we know what to do and how to get through it. Thank you so much.
Comfortable here. Thanks for being awesome, Mom. Thanks for being awesome, Mom.
Hey Mom, just want to tell you that you're the best and that I love you. Hi Mom, hi Nana. I just want to say Happy Mother's Day and thank you for everything you've done for me. I love you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day. I love how you're always caring for me.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Thank you. I love you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there.
No matter how old I get, I will always be my mom. I love you. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mommy. We love you.
Say Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day.
What about you, Wyatt?
Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day.
Well, we love our moms, and that is no secret. So moms, wherever you are, if you are a mom or if you have a mom, thanks for being with us. And we hope that even though Mother's Day looks a little bit different this year, that you can still find a way to give some love to the mom in your life, or if you're mom, that you still receive double doses of it. And until we see you next, we are just grateful to be with you. Enjoy service.
Well, hello. My name's Dave, and I want to thank you for joining in with us today. I want to start by saying thank you. And the reason why is several weeks ago, I was very candid with you in regards to where our church was at financially. And I said, what we're going to do is we're going to cut back significantly in our budget. We're going to take everything above and beyond what it takes to operate our church in this season, and we're going to give it to organizations and to families being affected by COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been able to do that. And I'm going to just start sharing stories in the coming weeks of how we're making an impact. This last week, we were able to partner with a church in Racine, Kingdom Builders Fellowship Center and Outreach Ministry. That's a long name. But we were able to partner with this church. And the reason we decided to partner with them, last year they distributed 3 million pounds of food to people living in Southeast Wisconsin. And so you can imagine it is a privilege. It is an honor to partner with this church. And I want to say thank you again for your generosity. So many of you in this season, you've stepped up and you've started giving for the first time. Others of you, you started giving online. You've never done that before. It kind of freaked you out, but you started doing that, and it allows us to kind of know financially how to plan, how to prepare for the future. I know that others of you, when you have company matching, right? General Mills, AbbVie, your company matches nonprofit and the financial gifts you give to nonprofits. And so I just want to say to all of you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Collectively, we're making a difference, and it is exciting to be a part of seeing God's kingdom expand here on this earth because we are working together. Now, on a completely different note, happy Mother's Day. Matter of fact, if you are watching on a Sunday morning at a time where we're kind of live in our services, why don't you in the comments section put your favorite thing about Mama? Maybe you just give a like or a heart if that's how you want to express your love. But what is it that you love most about your mom? We are cheering on all the mothers today. Yay! Also, on a more serious note, I do know that today is tough for a lot of women. Maybe you've lost your mom in the last couple of years. Maybe you lost a child. I can't even understand the pain that you must go through on days like today. Others of you, you've been praying for a while that God would bless you with a child, and that hasn't happened. And I just want to say our thoughts are with you today, but I also want to pray for you today. So let's start and let's just pause and let's pray for all of those who are hurting this morning. Our Heavenly Father, we do thank you that you are a God of love. You are a God of compassion. You're a God of mercy. You see the hurts that we go through. I thank you that you are close to the brokenhearted. And today, for those who are hurting, for those who are in pain, for those who are reflecting on the loss of a mom, for those who are reflecting on the loss of a child, for those who are desperately wanting to get pregnant, I pray, God, that you would respond. You'd bring healing where healing is needed. And for those who'd love to have a baby at this time next year, we pray, give them the desires of their heart. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, I again want to say that we are thinking about you today. And I hope that every woman, regardless of where you're at, regardless of the emotions you're going through, that every woman has a memorable day today. So we're launching a brand new series. And before we get into it, I want to set up the series because over the past several weeks, you know that there's been a lot happening in our world and we've had to learn to pivot very quickly. All right, so I wrote down some things here. We've taken on an amazing amount of data about a virus over the past several weeks. Where it started, where it came from, how fast it spreads, the locations it's spreading to, all of that type of stuff. We've learned many new terms: coronavirus, COVID-19, social distancing, flatten the curve, safer at home, shelter in place, drive-through testing, self-quarantine, and on and on and on. We've grown in geographic awareness. 8 weeks ago, I didn't know where Wuhan, China was. Never even heard of it. It is a city of 11 million people, and now we're very familiar with it. We obviously are hearing about different towns in Italy on a regular basis, towns in America we never even knew about. Hundreds of millions of people have made massive life changes, started wearing masks, 6-foot distancing. They've stopped gathering in crowds of more than 10 people, right? They've started washing their hands for 20 seconds at a time. There's been environment changes. Major cities, you can look up and the skies are blue. The fog or the smog, should I say, is going away. You can look into canals in Italy, in Venice, right? And in different parts around the world. And you can see fish swimming around and wild animals starting to roam the earth again. Restaurants, small businesses, churches, they've learned to operate in dramatically different ways. Even 2 months ago, our church was not offering online services, but here we are, and it's happening. Human beings have the ability to endure a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and a lot of changes. But we also have a breaking point. And so today, I want to launch a brand new series that we are calling Pressure Cooker. All right? Now, you should have learned this in physics class. Water typically boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And I say typically because I know there are nerds out there who say, well, it depends on the elevation. But roughly speaking, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and it doesn't matter how long it boils, it's never going to go above 212 degrees unless you find a way to put it under pressure. And if you find a way to boil water without any steam escaping, the pressure and the temperature is going to rise. Now, some of you have been blessed enough to join the cult of the Instant Pot, right? This is an amazing invention. The Instant Pot is several different things. It is a slow cooker. I'm convinced it is a time machine. You could put your kids in here and they come out happily ever after and they live great lives and they're well behaved, but it's also a pressure cooker, right? So something that would take you 5 to 10 hours to cook, you put it in this baby and guess what? It's cooking in 30 minutes. It's cooking in 45 minutes, depending on what it is. Now I bring this up because in a sense, this is where all of us have lived over the past several weeks. We've all been in a pressure cooker. And then we've all experienced different types of pressures, right? Unique pressures, and it's all affecting us in different ways. But this is where we've lived. If you've lost your job temporarily and unemployment is paying you more than you would have made at your job, right? Or if you have the same job, you're working less hours, but you're getting paid the same, that is a very different type of pressure than someone who lost their job indefinitely and has to try to find new employment in this economy. And so even though we're all in the pressure cooker, it's affecting us different ways, right? For those who have a big house to spread out, that's a very different pressure than families who are kind of crammed in an apartment and trying to get along. I think you understand that. There are others who, they're experiencing the pressure of loneliness. Now, I understand if you have a family, you can still be lonely, but come on, being isolated with people in your house is very different than being isolated with nobody in your house. Having small children in your home is a very different pressure than having older children in your home. And so all I want to say is this: we have lived in a pressure cooker, but it's affecting all of us differently. A few weeks ago, I asked the people of Great Lakes Church, would you go to greatlakechurch.com/pulse and would you fill out a survey and let us know how you're doing? Because I know stats and I can see the news and I know what's happening in our world. But I wanted to get a perspective on Great Lakes Church. And it's very fascinating because there were several themes that surfaced in the many, many, many responses we got. It's obvious right now that there's a lot of parenting stress happening. There's a lot of marriage stress. There's financial stress. There's emotional stress. A lot of people are talking about just the anger and they're on edge all the time, that they have. Certainly, a lot of people are experiencing depression and anxiety. Others are experiencing loneliness. And so here's what I want to tell you. We're not going to have the time to get into every one of these stresses during this series, but I do want to tackle as many as possible. And so I want to launch this series, Pressure Cooker, today. And I want to start by talking about parenting stress, parenting pressure, because it's Mother's Day. And I think this is something near and dear to mothers. The interesting thing is we actually talked about parenting back in February, and typically I wouldn't talk about parenting again for at least a couple more months. But I decided to tackle this topic again because the parenting stress today is very different than what the parenting stress was back in February of this year, all right? I think we all know that as parents, as families, one of the best things we can do is take time to get away with each other, a vacation, right? Things that kind of are new and fresh and exciting, things that just kind of break the monotony and routine of everyday life. And through all the study and research that has been done, consistently, the number one vacation spot for families in America is, if you're watching on Sunday morning where you can put something in the comments, I want you to guess, where is the number one vacation spot in America for families? It is not Branson. It is not Wisconsin Dells. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to surprise you. It is Eau Claire, Wisconsin. No, of course it's not. It is, come on, Orlando, Florida, Disney World. If you've never been to Disney World, you may not know this, that Disney World is not a park. It is a collection of parks that make up Disney World. And one of those parks is Epcot Center. Now, Walt Disney's original vision for Epcot Center, which started to form back in the 1960s, is he wanted it to be a model town. This was a community where like 20,000 people were going to live and work. Nobody was going to be retired. Everybody was going to be working. It was going to be an active community that was this model of what a planned community could be. All the transportation was going to be underground so people could walk safely above ground. It was going to be designed in a circle, and in the center of town, there were going to be businesses and commercial enterprise. And then around it was going to be different schools and community centers and recreational areas. And certainly there were going to be homes built around, the commercial area, which was in the center. Well, Walt Disney dies. And the Walt Disney Company decides that it does not want to be in the business of running a town. And so what we have today is a watered down version of what Disney experienced. Now, I tell you that story because in many ways, that is the story of parenting. Before we have kids, we have these great visions of the memories we're going to make with our kids, of the times we're going to laugh, play games late into the night. Ha, ha, ha. We're going to have such a grand time. And then we have kids. And it changes everything, right? It's always kind of this watered down version of what we envisioned. And so here is the reality of families. And here is the reality of parenting. Every family looks different. Every family has issues, and there is not a one-size-fits-all approach to parenting. That's why it's difficult to even give a talk on parenting. Right? Every child is different. Every child has different talents and passions and personalities and temperaments. There are some kids you literally got to take their pulse to make sure they're alive because they're so chill. And then there are other kids who you are convinced are demon possessed, and all you can do is pray for them. Right? And so at the start of every parenting talk, I say the same thing, and I'm going to say it today. Here it is. All you can do is your best. The rest is out of your hands. All you can do is your best. The rest is out of your hands. And the reason I say this is almost every parent I know feels guilt and feels regret for how they parent. There are parents who feel like they could have done this better or that better. They shouldn't have said this, shouldn't have done that. Listen, all we can do is our best. The rest is out of our hands. Parenting is a big issue. And even though we're doing our best, and even though, there are a bunch of things that we could change, it does get overwhelming. And so there's some things I just want to remind you of today. I do want you to know this, that as difficult as parenting is, right? No one has the potential to influence kids more than a parent. Just know no one else can influence your kids more than you can. And the reason I say that is just the sheer amount of time that you have with your kids. They may not even like you, but because you have time with them, you have the ability to influence them. And so we're going to talk about time. And my favorite go-to illustration when I talk about time is a jar of marbles. Specifically, 936 marbles. That's because 936 represents the amount of weeks we have with our kids from the time they are born until the time they graduate high school and go off to college, God willing. Now, to be fair, this does not include the caveat of COVID-19 when they return home and start to mooch off of us again. All right? But 936 weeks is what they have with us. And it doesn't always feel like this, but I promise you, it goes by quickly. Right? I'm a parent of 3 children. I've got a 14-year-old son, I've got a 19-year-old girl, and I've got a 21-year-old girl. And I will tell you this without hesitation, it flies. It's like you blink and they go from being 5 years old to 15 years old, and you blink again, and now they're 21 years old. It's just a fascinating thing. I'm guessing you've heard this phrase before, but it's so true. The days are long, but the years are short. That's what parenting is. The days are long, but the years are short. And so take this jar of marbles. The reason I showed this to you is for each of my kids, I've had a jar of marbles starting out with 936, and every week I take out a marble because the week has now gone by. It's passed. And the next week I take out another marble, and this has become a countdown clock. And like any countdown clock or any timer, you really don't take things that seriously until like they're half gone or until it's 3/4 gone, and you realize, hey, my time is going so quickly, and that's when you start to focus, right? When you see how much time you have left, you tend to get serious about the time you have. And so what I've always loved about having this jar of marbles in my house is it's been a great reminder of 2 things. Number one, every week matters. Every week matters. Number 2, you can't get everything done in a week. Every week matters, and you can't get everything done in a week. There's just this collective momentum, though, that happens when you add what happens this week to what happens next week to what happens the week after that and the week after that and the week after that. And the reason this is so important, especially right now, is I'm guessing some of you have felt like loser parents over the past few weeks. You're like, I'm a horrible teacher. I'm a horrible lunch lady or a lunch man, right? I'm not really good custodian. My house is a mess. And you just feel like a parent. And so what I needed to show you is 12 weeks out of 936 weeks isn't going to destroy your child. All right, just know that. Not every week is created equal. Some weeks are going to be better than others. It's just the way it is. And no single event, unless it's really, really tragic, no single individual, no single lesson is going to change the future for your child. It's all of those things combined over time that makes a difference. So what builds your kids up, what tears them down, is what happens collectively over a long period of time. This is why the Apostle Paul, in a letter he writes in the first century, he's talking about time, he writes this: so be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. So here's the question: how do wise people live? Well, wise people live today with tomorrow in mind. Wise people make decisions today that they know will somehow impact them tomorrow. And so here's the deal. Ever since my kids were young, I've had a simple goal with them. And that is that by the time they leave my house, at 18 years old, again, God willing, right, when they leave my house, that they would be individuals who were secure, independent, they love God, they love people, and they want to be around my wife, Rindy, and I. That's always been my goal with them. I want them to be secure. I want them to know they're loved and accepted. I want them to be independent. I want them to feel the weight of responsibility. I want them to work hard. I want them to love God and make all the decisions of their life out of that love for God. I want them to love people where they're not just consumed with themselves. And I want them to want to be around my wife and I. Now, I don't know what goals you have for your kids, but whatever they are, here's what I can tell you. You have to make decisions today. In the 936 weeks, they're with you. And you might be halfway done. You might be 3/4 done. You have to make decisions today with that in mind. And so the way I kind of like to envision it is a suitcase. Right? If I want my kids to be secure and independent, love God, love people, and want to be around Randy and I've got to make sure their suitcase is packed with stuff that helps prepare them for life's journey. Now, I alluded to this earlier. I'm going to say it again. You don't have to make every second count. All right? You don't have to get up every day and say, oh, I got to prepare memories for my kids and make today special. Listen, days come and go. There's good days, there's bad days. But what does happen over time is what's going to make a difference. So if you never plan memories, if you never do anything fun, if you never create security for them, well, yeah, that's going to make a difference. Just know this: anything over time equals results. You invest money over time, hopefully you'll have a good retirement, right? Whatever we choose to eat over time, for good or bad, it's going to make a difference. Whatever we practice over time, practice music or practice art or whatever it is, whatever hobby we have, talent we have, as we do more and more of it, we get better at it, right? Malcolm Gladwell years ago said, I think it was like 10,000 hours makes you an expert at something. And that's been debated, but here's what's not debated. A lot of time is what produces results. Studying a topic over a long period of time produces results. The most difficult part of parenting is that we have to choose to continue to work hard and make investments in our kids emotionally, spiritually, relationally, and in the key areas of their life, even when we don't see any progress. Because the reality is, if we're going to see the results we want, it's only going to happen over an extended period of time. And so what I'm going to do is give you some examples. Some of this may feel like you're drinking from a fire hydrant. Like it's just going to be all, just going crazy and you're going to try to digest it. But you can maybe come back later on or just write things down as I talk about them and then reflect on them later. Just know this. The first thing that our kids need over an extended period of time is love. I know that wasn't necessarily an answer that wows you or surprises you, but here's the deal. Love over time produces a sense of worth in our children. When you exhibit kindness and patience and forgiveness and compassion over time, our kids feel valued. Think about this. For thousands of years prior to the birth of Jesus, and prior to God revealing himself to the world through Jesus, right? God was revealing his love to people through kindness and compassion and patience and discipline. You just read Jewish history, what we call the Old Testament. God was constantly revealing his love in different ways. One of the key phrases that we read throughout the ancient scriptures when people would go through something challenging in their life and something difficult where they felt like God was absent or he didn't care was that God was with them. Why? Because he wanted them to know they were loved. When you show up in your kid's life in whatever season it is, a good season, a bad season, a fun season, not so fun season, but you show up with your physical presence, you show up emotionally, you show up and you listen to your kids and engage with them. Let me tell you, you communicate to them, you matter. You communicate value to them. And it does something to the soul of a child and a teenager when you show up for them in different seasons of their life. Love over time communicates worth. Something else every kid needs is words. Words over time equal direction, provides guidance for children. Do you know the average teenager hears one word of affirmation for every 7 words of criticism? King Solomon of Israel writes that the tongue can bring death or life. Your words matter. If you want to give guidance to the moral direction of your kids and the spiritual direction of your kids and the relational direction of your kids and who they hang out with, let me tell you, you need to learn to use your words in a way that inspires them, in a way that helps them know they're valued and they're unique and they're special. Recently, I saw a powerful documentary on the life of Mr. Rogers. And one of the things that was so amazing about Mr. Rogers was his ability to have a conversation with a kid in a way that when they became adults, they remembered it. They remembered how he made them feel with his words. And so words over time equal direction. Something else that has power over time is stories. You know, as parents, if we want to give our kids guidance or direction, it's easy to give them data, to give them stats, to give them rules, to give them information. But here's the reality. We don't really learn from information. If we learn from information, all we need to do is study up on what to eat and how to work out. And man, we'd all be amazing. We'd all be super, super fit, right? What we need in life to really motivate us and do something inside of us is stories. Stories stretch our imagination. Stories inspire us. Stories have the ability to help us understand others and then maybe have empathy toward what others are going through. So here's my question to you. What stories do you tell your kids about God? Have you ever shared with your kids why it is that you follow Jesus? Have you ever gone through a season of your life where you felt God's grace and now you shared that with your kids and said, let me tell you why we look to God for provision or why we follow God? Have you told your stories to your kids about God? Have you told stories to your kids about their teachers, about other people? Like, do your kids, whenever they have a problem with your teacher, is it the teacher is against you and the teacher has it out for my child? Or do you help your child build empathy for that teacher and explain, well, when you have 40 kids in a classroom and there's disrespect happening, sometimes you don't respond the best, right? What kind of stories do you tell your kids about others? Right? Because everybody has a story. And it's easy for any of us to judge people, right? And this person's lazy and this person, if I was in charge, I would do this. But come on, man. Everybody has a story. If you know anything about the stories of the different families that are featured in our Bible, you know it's not all rainbows and not all unicorns and cotton candy. Right? We read these stories, we see murder and lies and deception and rape and incest and polygamy and anger and betrayal and all sorts of dysfunction. Matter of fact, when I read about families in our Bible, I just got to tell you, I feel way better about my own family. Here's what I don't want you to miss. All the stories of families in the Bible are about how God doesn't use perfect people and he doesn't use perfect pictures to accomplish his purposes. He uses broken people that demonstrate who he is. And my hope for your kids Even though I may not know your kids, right? My hope for my kids is that when they fail, when they fall short in life, when they screw things up, that they will not give up on themselves and they will not give up on God because they know that God has not given up on them because of the stories that they know about God. You know, one day, my wife and I, we were having a relationship building opportunity. All right, we're in a big fight and I said something, I forget what I said, but one of my kids looked at me and they said, Dad, I'm gonna tell everybody you're a hypocrite because of what you just said. You put it on social media. And I looked at them and said, if you think I'm a hypocrite, go and put that on social media. But you do know what a hypocrite is, right? A hypocrite is someone who acts perfect in front of people, who acts like they have their whole life together, who pretends that there's nothing wrong with them, and then they go and they live in contradiction to that behind closed doors. So if you've ever heard me tell the church that I'm perfect, if you've ever heard me to act like I'm this great parent or great husband all the time, you can go put that on social media. And without missing a beat, they go, oh, that's what a hypocrite is? Well, no, you don't do that, Dad. You always talk about your faults, right? Here's the deal. I've just always wanted my kids to have a front row seat to the grace of God in my life. And so they've heard about my faults. They've heard about the challenges I've had in my marriage, and I've never hidden that stuff from them. Here's why. Stories over time equal perspective. Stories about God over time give perspective. Stories about other people and maybe the challenges people are going through, it gives perspective. This is why I love mission trips. Mission trips tell a story. It tells a story that there are people and there are cultures in our world that are very different than our culture. And I want my kids to see that. And I'm sure you want your kids to see that, right? Then there's another word, work. Every child needs responsibility. They need to know that they can accomplish things and achieve things. I always think it is amazing when I see children or students working in children's ministry at a church or student ministries at a church. And it's because early on, I think if they can discover that they can contribute and that God can work through them, it can do something inside of them. When I was 13 years old, I used to hang out at the church that I grew up in, and nobody said to me, well, Dave, you're kind of a nuisance, or Dave, get busy, do something. Here's the deal. They never made me feel like I was not supposed to be around. Instead, they always valued me and they always said thank you, and they would give me things to be responsible for. And here's the deal. Work over time equals significance. When a child takes on responsibility, it makes them feel important. Every child needs this. So when they're little, they're making their beds, they're cleaning their rooms, right? They're cleaning up their toys. They don't feel like they need it, but they do. When my kids became teenagers, they started doing their own laundry. At 13 years old, started doing their own laundry, started doing dishes, and they also started paying for everything on their own, their clothes, their trips. And so in order to get money, what I would do is I would give them chores because they're part of our family. They have to do things, but I would also give them jobs. And I'd say, if you do the job, you get paid. You don't have to do the job, but you can do the job. It was up to them. Another thing that our kids need over time is fun. All right, this is one of the most important things in the life of a child. King Solomon of Israel writes, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. Nehemiah, a very respected Jewish leader, he writes, don't be dejected and sad, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So let me ask you, based on what Nehemiah wrote, how strong is your home? How much joy, how much laughter do you have? Because fun or laughter over time equals connection. Now, I'll just tell you, this is really tough for me. I'm an intense guy, if you haven't been able to tell, right? And so at the end of every day, I know this sounds ridiculous. At 8:30 every single night, I ask each of my kids the same question. What did you get done today? Now, I don't micromanage your day, but they know if it's at the end of the day and all they did was play video games or watch TV or hang out with friends, that it is not going to be a pleasant conversation, and they are going to be handed a lot of responsibility for the next day. So on their own, they come up with stuff to do. I need to loosen up a little bit so they can have more fun, because here's what fun does. It lowers the walls in our heart. It connects us relationally. This is why you could be having a bad day in your marriage, and then you go hang out with friends and you're laughing, you're having a good time, and it's like you come back home and you're back to normal. If you want for your kids to want to be home, there needs to be an element of joy and fun, because fun says you matter to me. Fun says I enjoy being around you. Fun says you're special. And so schedule something fun. And if you're like me, you need to hear this. Schedule something without an agenda. Just say, we're going to go have fun, and do what your kids want to do more than just what you want to do. Finally, every child needs a tribe. Now, humans in general need tribes. We need a group to belong to. But there's something about being in middle school and high school that this becomes one of the greatest needs in our life, is to belong to a group outside of our parents. Matter of fact, if you have teenagers, let me give you 3 truths about your teenager right now. Number 1, they care more about what their friends think than what you think. Number 2, they care more about what other adults think than what you think. And number 3, they care more about what you think than anyone else. Now you might say, well, Dave, that just sounds like you contradicted yourself. I know I did, but they're teenagers. That's the way it is. All 3 of those things are true at the very same time. And so as a parent, one of the wisest things that you can do is find a way for other adults to be involved in the life of your children. You know, Randy and I would say this was something we did early on. My kids, when they were around 9, 10, or 11, we would start connecting with other adults and say, would you spend time with my kids? Would you bring my kids out for coffee? Would you bring my kids out for a soda, right? Would you bring my kids out and spend time with them? Because here's what we know. Tribes over time equal a sense of belonging. Do you know when you prioritize bringing your kids into a church setting, right? Children's programs and student programs when we're not social distancing. Do you know what it does is it puts other adults in their life other than just you? It's one of the healthiest things that you can do for your kids. Now, I've never met an adult, never met a parent, should I say, who wants to screw up their kids. No, nobody wants their kids to get to 25 years old and be in counseling because of something you said or something you did. Right? We all want our kids to be healthy. And so here's the deal. If your kids are going to move out someday, you want to give them a suitcase full of stuff to navigate the challenges and difficulties of life. So that someday, when they leave and they're carrying this, they are secure and independent. They love God, they love people, and they want to be around you. So let me wrap up here. If you're new to parenting, here's what I can say. If you're new to parenting, I know that the days are long, right? They're 1 week old, now they're 2 weeks old, another 3 weeks old, 4 weeks old, 5 weeks old, right? But just know, the days are long, but the years are short. Your 2-year-old is only going to be 2 one time. And then you know what happens? All those collective weeks that they've gone by, they're done. They're over. That's it. You can't get those years back. You know what happens to your 3-year-old? They're done. It's over. You can't get it back. They're only 4 once. They're only 5 once. They're only 6 once. They're only 7 once, right? They're only going to be 12 one time. Thank God you do not want them to be 12 more than one time, okay? But here is the reality. While they're in our house, we have to do our best to prepare them for life. And I'm hoping that this pressure season that we're in currently, specifically as it relates to parenting, won't last very long. But my question is, how are you going to capitalize on it? How are you going to make the most of this season? Remember, all you can do is your best. The rest is out of your hands. Let me pray for you. Our Heavenly Father, I pray, give us wisdom to know how to best parent our kids and the courage to do it. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, thanks for being with us today. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Well, hey, everybody, I am sitting here, actually not in the same room. I'm sitting in a different house than my mother, and I'm going to do some quick fire questions at her, interview her. I do notice that her screen says Lenny Nelson when it comes up. Is that a nickname for you, Mother?
No, it is not. It's my husband's name, your dad.
That is true. That is my dad. Although I'm not confident that he's actually my dad. Would you be willing, Mom, to take an ancestry DNA test when this is over to prove that you are my mom and Dad is my dad?
Oh, absolutely. Maybe there's a chance you're not my son.
This is going to backfire. I better stick to my quick fire questions. Here's the deal. How old were you, Mom, when you got married?
I was 19.
19. So I'm introducing you to Susan Nelson, 19 years old. Before that, before you met Lenny, before you met my father, you wanted to be a what?
I wanted to be a Catholic nun.
A Catholic nun. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a joke, but instead of being a Catholic nun, she gets married at 19 and ends up having how many kids?
7.
7 kids that she's taking credit for. Here's the deal. When you were just married, what were you doing in the house for work? What were you doing for a job?
Well, and besides being a stay-at-home mom, I was babysitting. I had a little daycare inside my house along with all you kids. It was crazy.
All right. And then from there, what did you go on to do?
Then I went on to be a high school Spanish teacher, then dean of students, then superintendent of a Christian school.
All right. That's just all that progression. How long have you been married now?
I've been married for almost 47 years.
Would you, if you could go back in time, would you marry someone other than Lenny?
No, I would not.
Mom?
This very moment, no, I would not.
Now, I do have a question. Back when you were 18, 17, maybe the 19, 20-ish, were you a hippie or are you pretty even keel?
I was a goody two-shoes.
Then, Mom, how do you explain this picture? How do you explain this picture if you say you were not a hippie and you deny being at Woodstock in 1969?
I have no idea where you got that picture from.
You know that's right. All right, so we got to get right into this. I did give my mom a little prep on some other questions, and I'm actually asking two major questions. Give us 3 of your biggest regrets and 3 things that, as difficult as they were, if you could go back in time, you would do them again. So let's start with your regrets, and let's just take them one at a time. We're not going to spend a lot of time unpacking everything, but what would be one of your top regrets?
I think one of my regrets would be I wished I would have read to you kids more. As an educator, I know how important reading is. I wanted to develop in you a love for reading, and I feel like I failed that test. Just becoming so busy, having the first 3 kids only 1 year apart. I just don't feel like I did a good enough job at that. And for that, I'm sorry.
Well, I think we did okay. We learned how to read, but I do think reading's a big deal. And talk about reading. Before I forget, last time you were at our house, I think you left a book here, 50 Shades Darker. So I don't know what this is about, but I'll get that back to you.
I have been looking everywhere for that book.
All right. So what would be a second regret of yours?
I think listening to you guys more. Again, I allowed the busyness of life, the juggling, and doing everything I always thought that I needed to do as a mom. I just didn't listen as intently as I could have. Which
I think anybody listening knows with 2 kids, that would be hard to do. But with 7, that would be almost impossible.
Yeah, I heard you guys, but I didn't always listen. When you were excited about things, I wish I would have spent more time just celebrating with you. And when you were sad, spending more time just hugging you and listening, really listening, not just saying, you'll be fine.
All right, give us one more regret of yours.
You're going to love it, Dave. I wish I wouldn't have been quite as strict.
I do love it.
Yeah.
I do love it. I think a lot of people have heard me tell the story of how we were not allowed to ride the Demon, even though my mom made deviled eggs and ate those. But do you have an example of something that you maybe say, I was probably a little overly strict on that?
I remember specifically one time standing outside of a gymnasium with your older brother, and we were working on Bible quiz, and the game was going on, and I would not let him get into the basketball game, and he was on the team, mind you, until he quoted a couple chapters of whatever book of the Bible we were working on at the time. And I look back and think, really, it couldn't have waited till after the game. But that was part of what I was going to say before you asked me that question. What I was going to say is, I feel like I didn't spend enough time. I tried to teach you guys there's a consequence for every behavior, but every bad behavior. I did a really good job of that, but the good behavior, I feel like I failed at that one.
Well, I say it all the time, and it's true. I think all parents can do is their best. The rest is out of our hands. And I don't think any of the children that you had that you take credit for are going to point fingers at you and say you did a bad job. I think we can all understand those things. But now let's quickly shift over to some things that you're like, yeah, it was tough at the time and it was a challenge, but I'm glad we did it. Here we go. Hit us with number 1.
I am very glad that I got you guys involved in Bible quiz. Just teaching you team, being part of a team, teaching you competition, having you guys memorize Bible verses, being able to go to different cities and states to compete, and then knowing that we had one Saturday every month that we would set aside just for Bible quiz, wherever that would take us, whatever city or state that would take us to. And I think those are places and time together that we would have never had it not been for Bible quiz.
Yeah, so for those who are unfamiliar with Bible quiz, it's a program for kids in elementary to learn questions and answers regarding the Bible. And then also when you get to be teenagers, you actually memorize verses and books of the Bible. Some people do sections of verses or chapters. My mom, woo! It was literally books of the Bible. I think 11 books of the Bible. And Mom, am I making this up? If we did not memorize our section of verses for the day, we did not eat.
Like I said, I did a really good job of teaching you guys there's a consequence for bad behavior.
Also, when you have 7 kids, you can get by a couple of nights a week with just saying we're not going to feed you. That's okay. But here's the deal. There's going to be some people say, I'm never going to put my kid in a program like Bible quiz. I do think at our church we have, we advertise a Parent Q app that they can download. It's literally called Parent Q, and it can give them a verse of the week, what their kids are learning. And so it can actually introduce the Bible to their home, which I think is great. What's another thing that you say, looking back, I wish if I could go back, I would do it again?
I would invest in Christian education. We were fortunate enough to be in a financial situation where we could send all 7 of you to a Christian school. And I am just so grateful for that. I believe that the school mirrored so many of the beliefs that Dad and I had, and it really laid a good foundation for most of you.
Yep, and when you say you were in a financial position, the truth is you had to make lots of sacrifices. Dad worked at American Brass, a factory, and my mom at that point was a stay-at-home mom. And so there were definitely sacrifices made. But for those who say, I'm not going to make those sacrifices, or we can't, no matter what, afford to put our kids in a private type of school, or even if we could, it's just not our what we would like to do. I do think even the regular rhythm of joining in church services and putting our kids in kids programs and youth programs is a very helpful thing to have positive peer pressure in their life. And then a final thing that you just say, looking back, I would do it all over again.
Well, what you just said really leads into my final thing, and that is keeping Sundays as special, going to church on Sunday, spending time as family, resting, having family dinners at Grandma and Grandpa's. And, your dad was pretty strict on Sundays, not allowing us, well, he preferred that we didn't go to the stores and do shopping, and he preferred that we would just stay at home and be family. And I would do that all over again. I just strongly believe that it's so important to set aside the rest of the week and spend time not only celebrating Sundays, but celebrating family.
Yeah, and I think that the principle there, first of all, is making God a huge priority in our house. But I think all of my siblings would pretty much say the same thing. Sundays were some of our favorite memories because it was a whole day as family. We spent a lot of it at my grandparents' house. We always had big meals together. And so I'm glad that it's something you would redo because that had a profound impact on us. Now with 7 kids, who would you say is your favorite child?
Well, you all know who my favorite child is. So
You're not allowed to say Ricky because Ricky has passed on into a better life. So of your remaining 6 kids on this planet, who is your favorite?
Oh, James, hands down.
Oh my gosh.
If I didn't say it, you would have. So there.
You would absolutely say it. James is my youngest brother, and everybody knows he's spoiled. Mom, I love you. Thank you for taking the time to do this quick little interaction, and I hope you have a happy Mother's Day.
Well, thank you. And it was a privilege. Just send that DNA, mail that testing kit to me. I'm anxious.
I can't pull anything over on her anymore. She just plays into it. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay. All right, Mom, I'll deliver that to you along with another drink you left around here. This is just hideous. We will see you. Okay, cool. Bye. Bye-bye.